Okay, we are live, Teresha. Hello,
Hello.
everybody. Welcome, as usual, to our Wednesday midweek session. Ask me anything about accreditation. Now, for those of you who just enjoy having a cup of coffee and eavesdropping on this conversation, you're very, very welcome. You'll know that I'm usually joined by a fascinating guest, and today is no different. I'm here today with Teresha Young. Hello, Teresha.
Hello. Nice to see you. Nice to be here with you. Thank you for the invitation to have a conversation.
It's a pleasure. It's kind of feast or famine. The last time I saw you was a couple of months ago, and you've been with us
Yeah,
yesterday and today. So all,
exactly. Omnipresent.
but we'll explain the reason why in a moment.
Will
So,
do.
as anybody who follows these already knows what these sessions are about, 30 minutes, very informal Q&A, ask us anything about accreditation. And Teresha and I are ideally placed to answer any questions that you have about what is accreditation? This has completely passed me by. We're in an unregulated market. How is that going to help me create that all-important differentiator in what has become a very noisy digital space? Or if you're a member of the public and you think, it's a couple of weeks since I set my New Year's resolutions and already I've forgotten them, or I'm feeling guilty, they're not happening, and you want to build in that all important accountability, then working with a coach and or mentor, again, Teresha and I are ideally placed to help answer your questions. But maybe you're a training provider or a university, an international player training the next generation of great coaches like us. And you're thinking, how is accreditation going to help you attract international high-paying students? We can answer those questions. And there's many more questions that we've dealt with. But typically, the comments that we get, Teresha, is, oh, that was really interesting. I didn't know you could be coached on that. I've never heard of a what's it type of coach, whatever the niche is that my guest has. So we have quite a nice following of people who just like tuning into a conversation. But if you are wanting to post any questions, we're live on social media. My lovely VA, Gillian, will be keeping me posted on the mobile. So I will check that periodically. So let me introduce Teresha to you properly. Teresha is a newly accredited master coach, no less, so very senior. And she is a relationship coach. I've not had a relationship coach on there before. And I was saving her for today because today is Valentine's Day. Woo! So
Yes.
there'll be lots of splashes of red around today on social media, I think. And
Mhm.
you're the founder of Real Relationship Talk podcast, and the emphasis is on real, keeping it real, obviously.
Absolutely.
And the world-renowned relationship expert and TV personality, Paul Brunson, recommended you.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. As Dawn has introduced me, I'm Teresa Young, and it has been such a wonderful journey, I have to say. How did I get a chance to talk to Paul C. Brunson? Why have I even got a podcast? Actually, there was no strategy in place whatsoever in order to have a podcast. I am just known in the relationship field. I've been doing this for a good number of years now and do a lot of posts on social media. And one of my followers reached out to me and she said, no, do you have a platform where people can share their relationship experiences? And I said, no, I don't. Sounds like I could have one. So literally 2 months later, I started up Real Relationship Talk with their podcast. And that was in March 2022. And it's been building. I've had a variety of wonderful conversations, people sharing their personal experiences when it comes to dating, love. So basically, the podcast covers self love, self care, dating, and relationships too. So I've had various different guests sharing from a personal angle. We've had guests, experts like Paul C. Brunson come on recently. And for those who don't know who Paul C. Brunson is, he's actually the co host of a show called Married at First Sight here in the UK, and that has over 50 million views. So it was an absolute pleasure and honor for him to come onto the show. And also Celebs Go Dating. He's also got a new book coming out, or it has come out, called Find Love. And most recently, I had the wonderful opportunity to talk to another relationship guest, and she's an expert. Her name is Susan Winter. She is based in the US, and again, very well known in the field, world renowned, just like Paul. And both
And
of them
you.
actually have I
And
you
you.
mean now, maybe. The only thing I'm waiting for is that they both have links to Oprah, direct links. So I'm just kind of putting the energy out there, Oprah, you know.
Yes.
Teresa is here and waiting. So I had a lovely conversation with Susan Winter as well, and she is known in the relationship field, also connections with Oprah and a TV personality herself. So that has been wonderful. So it has been such an eclectic amount of people, variety of people, and we talk about various different things when it comes to empowerment, to health, career, boundary setting, you know, all of the things that make up key components when it comes to relationships, because I firmly believe that the relationship we have with ourselves sets the bar for the relationship that we have with other people, which is so important that we know, like, love, appreciate, acknowledge ourselves, trust ourselves too, because that sets the tone for the relationship that we have with other people. And I've just had the absolute honor of working with and reaching out and connecting with thousands of women over the years, primarily women as well. I do work with men too, or any gender, however you may identify these days. I am more than happy to connect with you because I'm all about helping people that I coach to confidently achieve their love, their relationship, and also their career desires, fostering a sense of security, alignment, fulfillment, and empowerment. And that's my SAFE. It's an acronym. It's a SAFE approach that I use using my 4Cs blueprint, which again is a 4-part methodology. So there's a lot that I do when it comes to coaching people using the great skills, obviously, that I've acquired through the IAPC&M accreditation, and also the various different qualifications and experience that I've had over the years. I've got qualifications in counseling, CBT, coaching, and also some spiritual elements too, such as Reiki and various different elements there too. So I've combined it all and done a lot of personal development and my personal experience as well. I think a lot of my personal experience when it comes to relationships of all forms has really been formative in why I do what I do and why I'm so passionate about what I do.
Hence, you're an accredited master coach, because you have to have not only the experience and the training, but you have to have that sort of experience of life as well that you bring to the capabilities model, which is our assessment process. How was the
Yes.
accreditation for you? Because I've not spoken to you since you went through it.
Yeah, absolutely. I have to say, David was amazing. He was amazing throughout the whole process. He made it seamless, and also just there was amount of information and support that was given. It didn't feel like information overwhelm whatsoever. The videos, the 12 videos that were posted was absolutely helpful to be able to understand a bit more about each component of the accreditation process, what a best in class service looks like, being part of the top, you know, the 1% is absolutely amazing. So actually during the assessment process too, the 2-part assessment process, it just felt so easy and effortless. There's such a safe, because I'm all about safety, such a safe environment that you create. And I think in order for us to perform at our best, even as coaches, we have to feel safe with ourselves. We have to feel safe with our external factors as well. So the accreditation process was great, got fantastic feedback as well from each one of the assessments so that I can continue my CPD. And I think that's what's really important is the continuous CBD, obviously continuous as part of the C, but it's really important that we continue with that. And this resources, amazing, absolutely amazing.
Oh, I'm glad to hear that, because I also hear from students that it's a massive boost to the confidence to know that they've been assessed at an international level,
Yes,
and that we are a very caring, sharing
yes,
accreditation body. And as you say, holding your hand through the process, you don't go into
yeah,
your assessment blind. It's all there. So I'm glad to hear it was a good experience.
it
You
really was.
mentioned earlier that, you know, if we don't love, like, accept ourselves,
Mhm.
it's very difficult. And it's funny you should say that, because my call before my Facebook Live is a guided meditation. And I ended by saying, now, you know, we've just spent half an hour opening up the heart, having some humility and compassion for ourselves and for others. And now perhaps set an intention for the rest of the day. How are you going to build on the momentum? Because if you don't practice kindness to yourself, it's very difficult to practice it genuinely to other people. So we're on a similar track there. But as
Ah,
a busy relationship coach, and I should imagine this time of year you are busy, not least getting booked to speak at events as you did for us yesterday, and I'll come back to that in a moment. What do you do, Teresha, to make sure
mm,
that you are nurtured and well looked after and that you don't get burnt out from always being in such a position of giving?
absolutely. So when we are, so I'm just going to touch upon energy here, masculine, feminine energy. I just really want to touch a little bit about that because we
Yeah.
all are energy. We all energy based. Everything is energy. Science backs that up. And there is the notion that within every single one of us, it's not gender specific at all, that we have feminine and masculine energy. So very much when I am doing my coaching, I am in my masculine energy. What does that look like? That means that I am doing, logical, visionary, goal setting, go, 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 hands on the control, basically. When it comes to self-care, when it comes to self-love, we really need to tap into that feminine energy too. And it's okay, even if you are a gentleman, to be able to tap into the feminine energy because we all have it. So what that allows us to do is, rather than being such an achiever, is to be a receiver. And so therefore, when we are in our feminine energy, it allows ourselves to receive. So what does that look like? That looks like, for example, making sure that we take time to nourish our mind, our body, and also our spirit, if that's what that means. So for me personally, I ensure that on a daily basis, I am nourishing my mind, my body, and my spirit in some way, shape, or form. So health-wise, I ensure that I move about. I make sure I get my steps in. I might jump on the treadmill. I have a home treadmill too. So that means that I don't even have to go to the gym. And it's there. I can use it. I nourish myself well when it comes to my food and my eating. I also ensure that when it comes to my mind, I listen to personal development. I allow myself to receive. And feminine energy is about treating yourself with kindness, as you said, compassion, allowing yourself to be in flow and to be creative. So what I try to do as well is be creative in what I do. What's my creative expression? So I tap into that. That's a form of my self-care.
Mm.
Being part of my senses, that's part of self-care too. So even if I'm at home, I will spray myself with perfume.
Mm.
And even if I'm jumping onto it, I sprayed myself with perfume before I got onto this lovely conversation we're having here because I want to be present. And that's the thing about being self-care is being present, is allowing yourself to take your hands off the control and to receive whatever that means for you. So again, I like to call these meditation supplements, and it was actually referred to by a dear friend of mine. And she said sometimes people don't feel they have enough time to spend 5, 10 minutes, 15 minutes to actually dedicate to a meditation. But you can have little supplements throughout the day. And that means is just being present. So, for example, when you are having maybe a cup of tea or you're having a lunch, really savor that moment, touch into it, the senses. How does that feel in your mouth? How does it taste? Because
Mm.
it's that kind of groundedness and that presence still, that's a form of self-care because you're allowing yourself to have no distractions but to be fully immersed in the moment. So I do things like that. I'll have my meditation supplements. I will go on walks, gratitude walks. I'm a firm believer in gratitude too. I practice
Mm.
gratitude daily. So I would even go on a gratitude walk where I'm fully present and I would just appreciate every single thing I'm seeing or observing. And I'll count my breath at the same time because that's a form of self-care, is having
Yeah.
really great breathing techniques. So
Mm.
those are the things, putting aside things like a lovely Epsom salt bubble bath with candles and various different things, because I think when it comes to self-love and self-care, there can be a misunderstanding around what that is. Some people think that means you're being self-centered, egotistical, self-involved, and that's it. Selfish, exactly. But natural fact, you're being self-full. You are
Mm.
filling yourself up. So I
Mm.
want to use self-full rather than selfish because you are really pouring into yourself. And
Mm.
you might hear things like, okay, pampering, taking care of yourself. And that is a form of self-care, self-love, 100% absolutely. Equally, it is the nourishing. of your mind, your body, and your spirit, and whatever that means to you. Just allow yourself that 5 minutes a day, 10 minutes a day, whatever that looks like. And I would encourage it to be a daily basis where you're doing something at least daily. Then you might have a big self-care day, for example, when you've gone out and it's a half day, and you might plan that into your diary. But I do feel that there is every chance and every opportunity for people to have a pocket of self-care and self-love every single day. And that has been really important for me, because I was at one point in my life where I didn't love myself very much. And talking about personal experience, I had low self-esteem issues, low self-worth issues, huge limiting beliefs, generalizations, huge judgments when it came to myself, self-criticism. So it is something that I have to practice on a daily basis, because things can creep in, of course it is, but this is a habit, and it's all about creating good habits.
Yes. What was the catalyst for you then, Teresha, to turn that around and rebuild your self-esteem?
Yeah. So there are probably three formative experiences in my life, that I would say kind of got me there. So growing up, actually, I was the eldest of four children. And whilst we were very much cared for and loved by our parents, it was a very dysfunctional relationship between them, being that my dad was physically, emotionally, and also mentally abusive to my mother. So there was domestic violence. He was alcohol dependent, drug dependent, in and out of prison, had numerous affairs, had numerous children whilst they were together. And I witnessed that. So he was a bit like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Just didn't know what you're going to get from a day-to-day basis. So I witnessed that, and it took 30 years, but nonetheless, my mum stood in her power, because she realized that he was not going to change, and she stood in her power and her confidence, and she brought the marriage to an end. And she's thriving now, absolutely thriving now. However, it did give me some understanding of what relationships can look like, what unhealthy relationships can look like.
How much you can
Now,
take.
how much you can take, what's your boundaries, and with no judgment whatsoever to my mum. She was doing the best that she could with the resources that she had at the time. That's what she was. She was with my father since she was 17 years old. First love, knew no difference. But once she knew better, she was able to do better. And so she did bring the relationship to an end, and she's thriving now, absolutely thriving.
Good.
Then at school, I had low self-esteem issues. I didn't feel accepted and appreciated by my peers. I felt very used in that relationship. I felt like when one of the popular people weren't there, they would call on me to come in, to be their partner, and partner up, help them with homework, all that kind of stuff. And when their pals came back, I was ditched. And it really knocked my confidence, my self-worth, and I just felt like I wasn't cared for, I wasn't appreciated. So that gave me huge confidence issues and self-worth issues. Now, one of the deepest heartbreaks of my life happened in 2008, when my first relationship, who I thought was my lasting relationship, came to an end after 5 years. And he ended it with me via text message too. And I didn't see it. It was like a bolt out of the blue, Dawn. And it broke my heart. It devastated. All of these limiting beliefs were coming up. Oh yeah, I wasn't even loved and liked at school. Look what happened between my parents' relationship. All men are the same. Generalizations, which I know was a huge generalization at the time, but it's what I felt, it's what I believed. So it just sent me into such a dark place, Dawn. And I use swans as part of my logo, actually, because I liken it to being like a swan. On the outskirts, it looked like I was gliding very smoothly across the river or the canal. But underneath that water, I was paddling like that ferociously, just clawing on to whatever I could. So it got to one of my deepest moments, my darkest moments. And in 2009, it was late December 2009, I decided that I didn't want to be here anymore. So I just want to put out a little bit of a trigger alert. I didn't want to be here anymore. I felt hopeless. I felt helpless. So I took an impulsive overdose, and I said bye to the world. And I didn't expect to wake up the next day, but I did. And it was in that moment I knew that I was here and I was saved and I had a greater purpose, but I had to do something to move me from rock bottom. So I went to my GP, and I had a course of cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT. And when I started to witness how my thoughts and beliefs affected my feelings and my emotions, and that impacted on the actions and the behaviors that I took, and then reduced the results in my life, I was like, oh my goodness, my world changed. The quality of the relationship with myself changed. The quality of my relationships with other people changed. And I said, I'm going to share this with the world, because who else don't know the power of the thought and the belief and how we can take charge of that. So I made it my mission to go out there and get various different skills in coaching, CBT, counseling, also on the spiritual level, Reiki, as I mentioned before, delved into personal development, continued to nourish my self-love, self-care as well. And I said, I need to teach this to people. So that has been my mission. So that was the catalyst, really. It was a lot of my personal experiences, because I have a HR management background, actually. So I was in corporate and I
Yeah,
was doing the corporate
stressful.
work. It was very, I was doing grievances, I was doing disciplinaries, performance management, all of the heavy stuff that wasn't aligned with who I am at my core, actually. I'm a very light-spirited person. So more training and benefits was my thing, was really my jam. So when I went on maternity leave in 2016, I decided that I wasn't going to go back. I decided that this was an opportunity for me to set up my own private practice in
Yeah,
coaching,
yeah.
and I have not looked back ever since. So, I understand a lot about feminine energy now, as I
Mm,
alluded to before, and
mm,
how often we can be in our masculine energy when we are in the corporate world, because we are high achievers, ambitious women, sometimes even single parents taking it on. So we can very much be in the doing, doing, doing. And equally, it's striking that harmony to be able to bring it back to the feminine energy so that we can take care of ourselves and take care of our minds alongside obviously doing, 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 because we have to still
yeah,
do. Otherwise,
exactly.
we just don't achieve our successes.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry to hear that you've gone through all of that, but thank you for your honesty and bravery in sharing it. It is obviously now part of your inspirational journey and something that people will resonate with, connect with, and they will know that you're the right coach for them because of what you've gone through. And this is what I say to a lot of coaches about when they say, oh, it is a saturated market. It's not at all. It might seem like it from the numbers, but there is
Yeah,
the right person out there for you if you can just listen to the individual stories and have the honesty to share. So
absolutely.
thank you for that. And I think you've also highlighted why a lot of people in the corporate world have burnout. It's the masculine energy and the lack of feminine opportunity, energy, lack of energy around the feminine creativity type energy that they can use at the weekends and evenings and sometimes at work as well to help prevent that
Absolutely.
burnout and minimize the stress. It's all that
Yeah.
sort of square peg in round hole scenario, isn't it? And that imposter syndrome that many of us go through and suffer with.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And that's why really knowing ourselves well can help to counteract some of that imposter syndrome. It very much exists out there. We do get that. And it's
Mm,
having that confidence, and that's the word that you used before, is having that confidence and that courage to be able to show up as your authentic self. And the only way that we can do that is to really start to understand what we are thinking about and what we believe about ourselves, and how true we believe that to be. And
mhm,
what's the alternative way of thinking? What else could be true? And when we start to do that deep dive into and ask those deeper connecting questions, then sometimes we will feel that actually maybe we're not in alignment with where we are, especially when it comes to our careers. Perhaps there is an opportunity for us to do something differently. What's causing the imposter syndrome? So it really is a case of us being able to identify what that is and having really great conversations and communication with those people. And I have to say, one of the things that has really helped me with my communication that I can share with my coaching clients too is that I said that I was a mother as well. My daughter is 7 years old, and she was actually born with a genetic condition, and it has led to various different disabilities in her life. And she
right.
wasn't actually diagnosed with this genetic condition until she was
Okay.
4 years old. We had no idea. It's called MED13L syndrome. And
Okay.
basically, we all have a gene called MED13L. And during the process, her one was mutated and there was a duplication of the gene. So now the information is combating each other, which means that she has a profound developmental impairment, a delay. So where she might be 7 years old, she is operating at the age of about 3.5 years old. She didn't start walking till she was 4. She is currently pre-verbal, so she doesn't use any words, but she will use other ways. And really, what that has helped me to connect with her even deeply is understanding that it takes much more than words. Communication is much more than words. It's our body language, our physiology, it's our gestures, it's our eye contact, it's the way in which we say something, it's the tonality, the pitch, the rhythm, the gaps, all of that. So she has been one of my greatest
Non-verbal
teachers.
stuff.
Yeah, all the non-verbal stuff. You read so much out there, don't you, in terms of the percentages. But what I have seen is that only 7% of the way we communicate is through the words that we say and express. 38% is through the tonality of it all, and then 55% of the way we communicate is through our physiology and our body language and our gestures. So she has been one of my greatest teachers when it comes to really embodying those aspects of communication. And I can teach that even more so and coach my clients on those different aspects too, because it is often a lot what you don't say that is communicating the most. And when it comes to relationships, our communication is the bedrock of setting a really healthy, fulfilling relationship. So we have to be very mindful about how we communicate. So having powerful conversations, particularly when it comes to love, life, and relationships and your career, that's exactly what it takes.
Yeah, that is fascinating because the conversation has taken a completely different turn to what I had anticipated. I mean, I didn't have any agenda or anything, Teresha, but I was thinking, you were going to talk about Valentine's, the history of Valentine's, love, all of that sort of thing. And actually what you've highlighted for me is, and for everybody listening, is the importance of the relationship. The number one relationship that we have is the one with ourselves. If we're
Yeah,
not honest, if we're not authentic, if we don't love, like, and accept ourselves, etc., we're always going to be on the back foot when it comes to others. Because, as you've just said, we might say the right things, but our physiology is giving ourselves away.
absolutely. So we can be our own Valentines. And if you follow me on social media, I have put a post on today about Valentine's and in actual fact, how it all starts with us. So I will say to those who are celebrating, happy Valentine's Day. And I hope that you have a wonderful day. Equally, we can be our own Valentine, whether you're single or coupled up, because it all starts with us too. And understanding as well our partner's love language, which is so important. So I will end on a love note too, because often when we have our connections with our partners, we think that we are giving love in the way that they want to receive it. But they're like, actually, no, I didn't want jewelry. I actually just wanted some quality time. So it's really important that we understand how our partner wants to receive love and also to be appreciated. And for those listening who aren't aware of the 5 love languages quiz, I would encourage you to have a look online. It's by a wonderful gentleman called Dr. Gary Chapman, and it's a quick quiz that you can do. And basically, you would get to ascertain how your partner would like to receive love. And there's 5 love languages. There's physical touch, quality time, gifts, acts of service, and also the other one is, I'm going to lose my mind here when it comes to it. So
Affirmations, was it?
words of affirmations, that's it, word of affirmations. So
Mhm.
your partner may want to give you, say, for example, you might say, I bought my partner some flowers and an item of jewelry for Valentine's, but it wasn't actually what your partner wanted. That partner actually just wanted some physical touch, maybe a little bit of intimacy, whatever intimacy means to you. Maybe they just wanted to have quality time, acts of
Mm.
service, or maybe just wanted to hear you say something. So
I
doing
don't
that
think
quiz,
anybody should get married before reading that book, Teresha. I
yeah,
think it is such an important book. It's about 5.99 on Amazon. It takes about 2 hours to read it. I
oh yeah,
am mostly very happily married for 30 odd years with my partner. When we read that book, it took our relationship to a whole
oh,
new, deeper level because he now understands, well, I now understand him as well. He's affirmations and I'm service. So I've spent 30 years doing for him, hoping it
mm,
would rub off and he would do for me, like make me a
yes,
cup of tea or whatever,
yeah,
rather than accept my cup of tea and then not make me one later. Whereas his affirmations tells me how gorgeous I am every day, how much he loves me every day, etc. And I'm thinking, yeah, words are easy, actions are
Yeah,
very important. We now understand. And
abs
he and I have really worked hard
yeah.
thanks to that book.
It's
And
absolutely amazing, Dawn. And as you said, I would strongly invite people to have a read of it, do the quiz too, because when you understand that, then you can ask yourself, so what can we do more of or do less of? Maybe what
yeah.
can we start, continue doing when it comes to each one of those categories? So absolutely important, just to clarify, is physical touch, quality, time, words of affirmation, acts of service, and gifts. So
And it doesn't have
definitely,
to be a relationship, a
no,
romantic relationship. It could be a relationship with a
yeah,
colleague, a relationship with
absolutely.
your neighbor, your
Yeah,
child.
yeah.
I think he's got different books for different scenarios, but
He
if you
does.
understand your language, you can start to spot the language of other people, and your relationship will improve because I think it was Tony Robbins who said the quality of your life depends on the quality of your language because that is what impacts all your relationships.
Yes, absolutely powerful. So definitely tap into that. It can be an absolute game changer for it. And
Mm.
as Dawn said, that there's various different books out there. There's various different quizzes too when you go on there too. So, definitely explore it and enjoy it with no judgment. Just because you might not share the same love language or you thought that your partner wanted to receive love in a certain way, just treat it with compassion, no judgment, because now you can find a way forward.
Yeah, I find this work very interesting because I'm a Louise Hay Heal Your Life teacher. I did it many, many years ago. And one of the exercises we do is looking in the mirror saying, I love you.
Oh,
And it's
yes.
amazing how many clients just crumble and cry and they can't do it for a long
That's
time because we're so desensitized to how we're really feeling because we'll do anything except spend some quiet time with ourselves, which is why
oh
meditation is so important.
yes.
But they just find it very, very difficult to love themselves. What would you say would be the
Yeah.
number one thing or a few things that we could do to help like and love ourselves better?
Yeah, absolutely. Mirror work, like what you said there, can be so powerful, particularly if you're in your birthday suit as well. When you're stark
Yes.
naked, you can see
Yeah.
yourself in all of your glory and send love to it. And sometimes even saying something like, I love myself, that might not feel so true to you. You can say each and every day, I'm getting to love myself more and more. If that feels more gentle and more, understanding for you, you can take more of a step.
Louise Hay said, I'm willing to be willing to be willing to try. It's how many willings do you need to get there step by step? Yeah.
Absolutely. So that's a beautiful technique. Affirmations are fantastic. That's a great way. Um, Gratitude as well is a great way to start connecting with yourself, start appreciating yourself. I am grateful for, I am so happy and grateful now that they start off with that. It's a great way to actually start connecting more with yourself. I would also say be sure to connect with your breath. It is actually said that for feminine energy too, that the body is the home of the feminine energy. So really find ways to connect with your body, to eat well, to get sleep and rest as much as you possibly can, to move your body. It's really important that we do those things. It all starts with the mind body connection, it flows both ways. So find ways to do that. So those are some of the key tips. Also, what I would say, journaling. Journaling is a very powerful exercise because then you can start to witness your thoughts, your feelings, and your emotions. You take the intangible into tangible, and you can send compassion and kindness to yourself. You can say to yourself, if I was reading that or somebody was reading that to me, what would I say to that person? How can I see this situation through the lens of love? And start, if that was my friend or someone I really cared about, what would I say to them in that moment? Would I say to
Mhm.
myself, would I say that to a child? They really start to send some compassion to yourself, no judgment. So start with journaling, really start with journaling and start to witness your thoughts and your feelings and your emotions. And then we have the opportunity to choose differently and to do differently.
Yeah. Yeah, very powerful stuff. I mean, I could chat to you all day, and I'm sure listeners could tune in for many hours. Those of you who want to know more about Teresia and the work that she does, she did a masterclass for us yesterday. The 3 must-haves for dating and igniting love. So that will be in the secure members area. So members will always benefit because it will be in the archive forever. And I'm sure Teresia will be doing more masterclasses for us in the future. But I know you had a good following yesterday, so I hope as many of you as possible caught that. What can we look forward to in the future if people want to get hold of you to either work with you or find out a little bit more about what you're doing? Apart from your IAPC&M directory profile, how else can they get hold of you?
Lovely. So if I move this way, you can probably see my website there, which is www.teresiayoung.com. You can find out more about what I do. And also, if you're interested in having a free complimentary clarity call, absolutely check in my website there. You can book something in. Also, you can find me across all social media platforms as Teresia Young, and I am omnipresent. Teresia Young, no other things behind it. So I'm on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. I'm mainly showing up on LinkedIn as well. So please do connect with me there, and you can see some of the work that I'm doing. So that's really what I don't have any events coming up at the moment, but if you follow my work, you will stay in tune and in the loop when it comes to any events coming up.
Lovely. Well, thank you. It's a pleasure as always. Very deep and meaningful we got. I thought we were going to be all love and red and fluffy, but we went
I showed
very
up with a little bit of red.
good. We went very, very deep, but you've got to do the work to get the payoff. So it's all
Thank you
good.
so much for
Thank
me.
you.
I
It's a
appreciate it.
pleasure. Enjoy the rest of your evening and happy Valentine's, everybody. Whether you're
Happy
single or not,
Valentine's.
just celebrate being you, being alive, and being wherever you are today. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye bye now.